Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. I am delighted to be back with yet another episode of Tit-Bits on Business and Finance. I am deeply humble, happy and grateful for the tremendous viewer support and response that the show enjoys. Thank you once again. Let's get back to the real economy. A lot has been happening since we last met. Let us consider the reality of the real state of the economy as we see it, we witness it, and we experience it, and not what the government claims it to be. With the festival season on, consumer spending has been back, and the spending has come after many months, or we would rather say quarters of a lull, because even before the pandemic of COVID had set in, consumer spending in India had been dipping to very worrisome levels. The spending is back. The question is the consumer spending that we are witnessing at the moment because of confidence or is it because of compulsion? If this spending is because of confidence coming back to the consumer, then it's going to be a durable recovery as we would call it. But if it is merely because of compulsion of festival spending, then this is not a recovery. It's a temporary improvement only because of festival spending, and recovery has not set in. The October demand, the spending upsurge that we have seen in October has been because of various factors. The factors have been pent-up demand because of the lockdown or COVID. Let's call it the COVID demand. It has also been because of the ensuing Diwali festival, the Dashera Navratra Diwali season. And there could be some element, if any, of a long-term capital expenditure by industries, not that we really see it. Thus, the increase in demand in October has been because of various factors. And because of the demand going up, GST collections have witnessed a sharp recovery. For the month of August, GST collections were over 95,000 crores. And then for the month of September, as per the recent figures, GST collections have crossed 1,05,000 crores. And the government optimistically expects that this recovery in GST collections will continue for the foreseeable future. But then, looking at the GST figure or just seeing the GST figure as a single benchmark to decide whether recovery is set in or not is not correct. A lot of other factors must be taken into account, and we see mixed signals when we consider many other factors. In some of the factors, you can think that some kind of a long-term durable recovery maybe is visible, but in many, nothing like this is visible. And because of that, we would say that it is too early to judge whether recovery has really set in merely because demand has gone up in the months of September, October, and perhaps November. When we try to judge this position, we must not forget that all authorities, including the Reserve Bank of India, are on record that the impact of the COVID pandemic on the economy is so deep that it will take years before we come back to normal growth, before we come back to sustainable, durable growth. The road to recovery is pretty long and it cannot be judged in a matter of a couple of months of upsurge in demand. And while GST collections are a kind of a reliable indicator to judge the state of the economy, but then in the present times when there's absolute uncertainty and fluidity in the economy, we cannot just rely on one indicator in order to decide the state and direction of the economy. We must consider other factors, other signals, other benchmarks and take a more holistic view. And what are some of them? Maruti Udyog reported sales of 1 lakh cars during the 9-day festival of Navratra. In the month of October, on a YOY basis, the four-wheeler sales recorded an increase of 17% in India. It thus looks that four-wheelers have recorded a smart recovery in sales. But then, why just look at the month of October? If you look at the period of April to October this year, the sales of four-wheelers are down by 27% as compared to the same period last year. While four-wheelers are showing some kind of a recovery that is not being witnessed in sales of low-end two-wheelers. Those sales have not picked up, and that's surprising because one would expect their sales to pick up faster, particularly at a time when the rural economy is buoyant and is reported to be strong. Talking further of the transportation sector, 1.5 million passenger buses are lying idle for want of demand, and sales of commercial vehicles have certainly not picked up. That reflects in the second quarter loss of Tata Motors again of 300 crores. Commercial vehicle sector continues to languish despite any kind of a buoyancy in demand. Coming further, let's take sales of real estate. Mumbai real estate market witnessed an increase of 34% in sales in this period, and that's been because of handsome attractive discounts being offered by builders, a stamp duty concession given by the government, and attractive and easy housing loans being provided. While real estate sales have gone up, the sales of jewelry, a very favorite investment item of the household sector in India, have gone down. The World Gold Council reports that India witnessed a fall of 49% in gold imports during the period April to October 2020, and that is also reflected in jewelry sales, which have fallen to a 12-year low in this period. Further, charter flights demand has shot up. It has increased sharply, but then airline demand continues to be weak, and that is reflected in Indigo's statement that it proposes to trim its fleet of planes over the next 2 years, thus showing that it does not expect a normal recovery to take place till then. FMCG companies have reported a handsome recovery in sales, but restaurant, hotels continue to languish. Demand has gone up as is being reported because GST collections have gone up. But while demand has gone up, demand for bank loans has not gone up. Bank credit increased by a mere 5.8% in this period, as against 8.2% increase in the same period last year. Normally, if there is a recovery, there is going to be a huge increase in bank loans. That has not taken place. Rural markets, rural India looks good, but we cannot say the same about urban India. And most importantly, not all corporates, not all sectors have reported handsome profits or revenues as some have done. Despite these mixed signals, despite the COVID uncertainty that prevails, what we are seeing is that the government says that a durable recovery has already set into the economy. Speaking to the business line, the finance minister recently said in an interview that even if you give some allowance to pent-up demand, despite that she sees all-round revival taking place with each sector growing at its own pace. According to her, demand will be back even after the festival season is over, and therefore on the whole she says that it will be a sustained recovery taking place. None of us deny the fact that India needs a rapid and quick recovery in order to get out of this economic crisis that it faces. But we are unable to subscribe to the finance minister's optimism. As we said, we see mixed signals around and they cannot be ignored. Those are the ground realities which need to be factored, and they stare in our face. The Financial Express therefore recently warned that there is too much optimism surrounding this nascent recovery, and the FE says that let us not fool ourselves, for it is going to be a long haul to a durable recovery, and we also subscribe to it. What are the reasons why we think that the present recovery that is taking place cannot be called a durable recovery, and it is too early to pronounce any such judgment, even though the government may think otherwise? The first one, in trying to pronounce this kind of a judgment that a sustained durable recovery has set in, very often the comparison of October figures is with those of April, May and June, and that was a time when the economy was in a complete lockdown. Any figure compared with April, May and June is bound to look far better, and we think that that would be misleading to do. The second factor is a potential possible COVID resurge. We have not seen the worst of it, and as we are seeing in the case of European nations, it tends to come back. Even the Reserve Bank itself has been warning it in its monetary policy announcements. With that being the case, There is clear uncertainty around, and we cannot say with certainty and confidence that a durable recovery has set in. Further, we need to choose the right indicators. We cannot indulge in pick and choose, choosing those indicators that are of convenience and not take those which are not convenient to us. According to us, the key indicators that must be seen before we say that a durable, sustainable recovery has set in is build-up of jobs, build-up of fresh investments in the economy, fresh projects coming up, bank loans being given for fresh projects, and return of confidence, not just of the consumer, but of the businessman also. To us, these factors coming into positive territory would mean that durable recovery has set in. The next thing to be remembered is we cannot confuse compulsory festival shopping with recovery. Festival shopping is bound to take place. That is out of compulsion. It need not be out of confidence. The factor to watch in shopping must be discretionary spending. Spending for items which are not basic necessities but which are of a discretionary nature. When that comes back, we would say that recovery has set in. And the Reserve Bank itself says that it will take a long time before discretionary spending comes back into the economy. That is the real proof of the pudding according to us. Further, when we talk about GDP, when we talk about growth, unfortunately in India, very often the stress in the informal and small sector does not get factored in because its figures just don't come in. That's a large sector of the economy. Until that sector does not get out of stress, we would not pronounce that a recovery has taken place. The next is state of the government finances. The state of the government finances remains precarious and weak. Fiscal deficit for till October 2020 has already crossed 115% of the year's target, and by the end of 2021, India's debt versus the GDP will be 90%. That's a lot of loan that the government is going to take, and if the finances of the government, which is the biggest consumer in the country, are not strong, how do we see some kind of a recovery taking place? Another factor which must be borne in mind is, take the case of US. While its first quarter, it witnessed a dip, a contraction of the economy, but the next quarter, the US economy bounced back with a growth of 33%. In our case, in the June ended quarter, we saw a contraction of 23.9% in the economy, but we are not seeing a bounce back like we saw in the economy in the next quarter, whose figures are yet to come out. That being the case, we really cannot say whether recovery has set into the economy. And finally, let us also not forget that there are certain sectors which face a deep distress. Travel, hospitality, transport, education. These sectors are going to witness a long road to recovery. Until they also don't get into a momentum, we just cannot say that some kind of an all-round recovery has set into the economy. Therefore, in our opinion, there are mixed signals at present. It is too early, it is too premature to pronounce that a recovery has set into the economy which is durable. There is an improvement, but a recovery to us is still a far cry before we say that it has set in. The Maruti Udyog chairman R.C. Bhargava very correctly says that it is too early to state that demand has come back and that we must wait at least until January 2021. And finally, let's consider a very important indicator to realize that it is too early to say that certainty of recovery in the economy has set in. The big four technology companies worldwide have reported record sales in the last 2 months, and that has included their sales in India too. Apple reported it, Amazon reported it, Facebook reported, and so was the case of Alphabet, the parent of Google. But none of them are willing to rejoice. None of them are predicting that stable growth has set in. Apple, which had record sales of $64.7 billion in the last quarter, says that it is providing no specific revenue guidance for the coming quarter, and that it says is because of the uncertainty of COVID. Amazon says that there has been an increase in spending because of COVID, and because of that, perhaps festival spending is going to be affected because people have only a limited spending capacity. Alphabet says that it sees significant uncertainty in the external environment. In other words, keep your fingers crossed. And Facebook warns of significant uncertainty in 2021. If these companies are not able to pronounce with specific certainty that durable recovery is come back, I think we need to take that into consideration before we ourselves wish to say so. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.